All right.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Pace. I'm one of the school counselors at Radnor High School, and I am here with Mary Smith, Acting Director of Admissions for Recruitment and Selection at Gettysburg, a wonderful liberal arts institution. So thanks for joining us, Mary.
Thanks for having me, Sarah. It's interesting that that title is a mouthful, but it's it's neat for me from I love talking about the value of the liberal arts and sciences, being a grad of a liberal arts experience myself. So my major at Gettysburg, I am a class of 2000 graduate, and I majored in business and music and elementary education were kind of my one, two,
Wow.
three.
Okay.
And I understand that you have a liberal arts background as well.
Yes, I graduated from Colgate University a long time ago, and I was a double major with math and Latin. Um, and that brought me to being a school counselor.
Why not, right?
Yeah.
I will admit there are so many times I reflect back on my own experience and I'm thinking, well, how did I pull all that in together? And I realized, oh, well, the things I learned in my ed classes I use when I'm interacting with students, and the things I learned in my business class, well, there's a lot of marketing in college
Hmm.
admissions, and so there's so many different interconnected pieces within the liberal arts. And for those of you joining, welcome. We are going to talk about the value of a liberal arts education. As Sarah mentioned, my name is Mary Smith, Acting Director of Admissions for Gettysburg College. I've been there for 25 years now. I basically graduated from Gettysburg. Actually, fun fact, I applied early decision back in the day to Gettysburg, and I have never left. So sometimes you just know, you fall in love with a place. But I would love to hear from students and family members joining us during this session a little bit about yourselves. So we're going to try this. We'll see if it works. If you don't mind using the Q&A, we can't use the chat feature, but if you don't mind using the Q&A and adding a little bit about either you or your student, maybe a fun fact, something you're interested in, something maybe you're interested in studying. And then while you're doing that, I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to share a quick video with you um, on exactly that, the value of the liberal arts education. So feel free to enter the chat, and we're going to try this one more time. We'll include sound, and we'll go ahead and play this. Here we go.
One, we talk about our honor statements and the fact that we had to go to class. It wasn't like the normal, when I say the basketball student athlete kind of misconception of we were just there to play basketball and class was kind of secondary. We were student athletes, and the liberal arts journey was challenging and rewarding all at the same time, because you're training critical thinkers, you're opening the mind to different concepts and ideas, and I've tried to adapt that to the way that you see life and figuring out problems as you go along. And so, that's my experience, and even as those last the 13-year journey from when I took my last class to when I finally graduated, like, it's a reflection of exactly what that educational experience is designed to do, and why you have so many amazing people doing amazing things in so many different fields, where we still have a connection of where it all started. One.
So I just love that. I should mention I'm also a parent in this process. My daughter is a senior in the mix of things, and she is looking at colleges, has been admitted to some, waiting on some as we're in the thick of it. But my middle son is a basketball player. And so when I saw this and realized that Stephen Curry is a liberal arts grad, I just had to share that out. So fun fact, and he was a sociology major, which I did look up and was very intriguing to me. So I don't see any updates in the Q&A, and that is totally okay. But we're going to talk about the liberal arts. So let me go ahead and share my screen one more time, if I can get this slideshow up. All right, for those of you who just joined, we're talking about the value of the liberal arts and sciences. And I asked for some posts in the chat, and that is okay, or Q&A rather. But let's talk about what is the liberal arts, as that is the point of our conversation today. And for me, being from Gettysburg, not that I was a history buff, but I love to look at where things come from in terms of their historical origins. So let's first try a definition. So Webster's dictionary says that liberal arts are college or university courses that focus on developing general intellectual abilities and knowledge. Okay, sounds good. I like the Oxford definition a little bit more because it gives a little bit of the history. Liberal derives from the Latin liberales, meaning free. Arts comes from the Latin ars for knowledge or skill. I love that. So what does liberal arts in that translation actually mean? It means that free knowledge. And in this case, education that equips a person for life as a free citizen. The liberal arts have actually been around for about 2,000 years. Fun fact. If anybody tells you, oh, that's new, that's modern. Nope. Has been around for about 2,000 years. And it came about from the Greeks, where they said, okay, there are 7 liberal arts. To be a free-thinking man, because at that point it was men who were educated, not women, to be a free-thinking man, you had to first have the fundamentals, and the fundamentals were called the trivium. I won't give you a quiz on this. The trivium were grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Some of you, especially parents, will know that back in the day, they didn't call it elementary school, they called it grammar school. And there was a reason for that. That comes from the Greeks. Thank you very much. Logic was your philosophy and your math, your general problem solving, and then rhetoric was writing. Once you could master the trivium, those fundamentals, you could move on to the next 4. Arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, called the quadrivium. That meant you were an advanced student. Once you mastered all 7 of the liberal arts, you were poised to be that educated, free-thinking man and could go into government or business. And you were the highly educated, as opposed to the serfs or others who were not as educated. The liberal arts. But let's move it into the modern era. So what are the characteristics of a liberal arts and science college? And I say liberal arts and science because a lot of times people hear liberal arts and they think the sciences are not included, and that couldn't be further from the truth. So a liberal arts college, you may hear this well-rounded perspective, but it's true. That well-rounded curriculum includes the social sciences, the natural sciences, the arts, the humanities, yes to business, yes to the quantitative arts. All of those things are part of the liberal arts. The difference is that you get that depth of your major, but you also get the breadth of those other disciplines. So let's say you have an interest in studying math, which is great. You can dive in deep to math, but you're still going to take courses outside of that to give you that breadth of exposure and to see how there's linkages, to see how things are overlapping with each other. Oftentimes in a liberal arts setting, you're going to experience small classes and low student faculty ratio. So you really get into the conversation. There are no backseat drivers, people sitting in the back. You're up front and personal, for good or for bad. But that also means it's challenging. It's rigorous because it can move at a faster pace, or take a pause and say, hey, I don't understand that. Can we talk about it a little bit more? And that is often the case in that liberal arts classroom. You have high impact experiences because they're built into the curriculum of a liberal arts classroom. And then, of course, you've got that rigorous coursework that helps to develop those critical thinking skills, et cetera, et cetera. About 3 years back, Gettysburg College, and this is also a picture of my campus, Gettysburg College did a survey of about 200 employers. And we specifically asked the question of what is it you are looking from all graduates, not just liberal arts college grads, but from all graduates. What is it that really you're finding are the most important skills that students either have or don't have, but you need? And they identified these top 7. I should say we pulled out the top 7 from their list: adaptability, creativity, effective communication, intercultural fluency, the ability to connect with other cultures and backgrounds and experiences, problem solving, leadership, and teamwork, all of which at Gettysburg, we realized, well, we've been doing this forever. This is a liberal arts experience. So for us, we look at it as how do we better articulate that? And how do we help our grads to better articulate what they've been learning? So that's something we've been thinking about, but the data shows. The benefits of a liberal arts education. Now, these are the things that while you're in a liberal arts college, you can try and do more. You can double major. You can major and minor. Both Sarah and I were double majors. Very different fields. Math and Latin, right? So two different experiences. And I did business, music, and education. Very different experiences. So you can try different things, but you can also juggle things outside the classroom and weave them into the classroom. We have a leadership track. Well, you can be weaving that into the classroom experience, but you might also be doing that on the athletic field. You might also be doing that in the concert hall. And it's the idea that you're also connecting those things both inside and outside the classroom. You're developing a cross-cultural knowledge, and you're developing those critical skills. These are things happening while you're in that liberal arts experience. And how about post liberal arts experience? You have great graduate school potential. Our grads go on and are successful at some of the best schools in the country from their graduates, whether it be MBAs, med school, law school, engineering programs. They're developing all those skills to then be able to function in a lot of different environments. And they have very, very high acceptance rates to the best of the grad schools. Potential long-term ROI. I'm going to get into that a little bit with some data points in a moment or two. But long-term, liberal arts graduates do extremely well from an ROI perspective, that return on investment. They also often have very high career satisfaction because frankly, they've been able to explore a lot of different things. They know what they don't like. Usually they know what they do like, and they're starting to put those pieces together. Great career flexibility. We definitely saw this coming out of COVID as people were changing jobs left and right. But also, frankly, the average job change, the average career change nowadays is 7 times. So you've got to be flexible. You've got to be adaptable. And liberal arts grads tend to have very high upward mobility as well. And they just continue to have that love of learning. Oh, I just had to share this one because there's a lot of myths out there about the liberal arts. These are all false. So I'll just give you a moment to read them. They are not true. You very much can have great career opportunities. I mean, our students, last year's class, 99% had a job or were in grad school within the first year of graduation. Liberal arts grads do very, very well. They get a lot of hands-on, both from a research perspective, internship perspective, career immersive experiences. They get that. And in part, that's thanks to the smaller numbers too. If you've got an internship, let's say, use the example. At Gettysburg, our average class size is about 18. Let's say you've got 5 internship opportunities that come in and are related to your class. And you've got 18 kids in your class. That's really great odds. Versus, let's say you're in another location and you've got 100 or 500 students in your intro level course. Those aren't such great odds. There's just general at your fingertips, hands-on opportunities. And you're not competing with, oftentimes you're not competing with grad students because many times liberal arts experiences are completely undergrad. And I mentioned STEM and ROI. But let's talk about some data. Because to me, yes, it's nice to talk about all of these things, but the proof is in the pudding, as my mother would say. So Georgetown did a study in 2020. It was their Center on Education and the Workforce, and they found that liberal arts colleges offer a greater return on investment in the long term, so maybe not initially, but in the long term than most other types of higher education. And while you're reading all of those different bullet points, I'll share another fun fact. The median ROI for a select group of 47 liberal arts colleges and colleges, which Gettysburg is among them, and there are many wonderful institutions. Colgate is among them, Sarah. The average ROI is 1.13 million, just shy of 1.14 million ROI for doctoral universities with the highest level of research activity. I'll repeat that one. And this is a Georgetown study. Medium ROI for 47, your highly selective liberal arts colleges, 1.13 million, just shy of 1.14 million for median ROI for doctoral universities with highest level of research. So I thought that was an interesting fun fact. So these were some of their takeaways, the key findings from the Georgetown study. I also thought it was interesting the share of students who are from low-income families is correlated with lower ROI at liberal arts institutions, and the share of students in different majors at liberal arts colleges, particularly the STEM area, can affect ROI. So there were some nuggets coming out of here as well. Here's another data point. So another study was done. The Andrew W. Mellon Foundation did a study, and they published it, published some of those findings in an Inside Higher Ed article back in February of 2019. And they found, this was an analysis done by two economists, that the percent of, and I'll pick on STEM once again here, and that's in the blue, if you look at the bar across the line, percent of STEM-specific degrees is actually higher at liberal arts colleges than non-liberal arts colleges across the board, whether they're the elite colleges, you could probably name them, the highly selective privates, the selective privates. If you look across the board, in the elites, 17% compared to 23, 10% compared to 19, 9% compared to 16. I thought that was kind of interesting. So some things to think about. And I just love this slide, so I'll share this one with you. Because to me, it's all about some of those examples too. I mentioned Stephen Curry is a liberal arts grad, but here are some other fun liberal arts grads. Don't know if you would know his name, but J. Michael Bishop. He is a Nobel Prize winner, Gettysburg College alum. His Nobel Prize was in medicine for cancer research, and he's an American immunologist and microbiologist, liberal arts grad, BA in chemistry. Susan, she is the former CEO of YouTube and one of the earliest founders of Google. She was employee number 16. She let some folks borrow her garage to start Google. And she unfortunately passed away last year, but she had a BA in history and literature. Fun facts. Some of you may know, especially some of us parents will know Michael Eisner, former CEO of Disney, currently works in film and television. He was a BA in English literature and theater from Denison, by the way. Ken Chenault, CEO of American Express, he had a BA in history from a liberal arts college. And one of my personal favorites, I love good old classic movies, Katharine Hepburn, one of my favorite icons. She is a BA in history and philosophy in 1928 from Bryn Mawr College. So some fun facts. You can do a lot of different things. Oh, by the way, President Obama was also a liberal arts grad. BA in political science, go figure. Last thoughts. I shared with you about Stephen Curry and played that little clip, but I love this quote from Lynn, who is the president of Association of American Colleges and Universities. There's no better time to have that liberal arts experience. And if you have more questions, I'd be happy to take them. We can either do them in the Q&A right now, or I have my email address there as well if you would like to ask me questions over email.
I don't see any questions yet, but thank you so much. This is a topic near and dear to me. I always bring this up with some of my students. They can probably remember that in our college planning meetings, just based on my own experience at a liberal arts school.
And I'm curious, Sarah, how would you describe your liberal arts experience and some of the benefits for you?
So I think what was interesting, and you kind of touched on this, when I went to college, my intent was to be a physics major. So I was all like, I was a math science person. And I have to say, I never wrote a really long paper in college. Like I was able to find classes that played to my strengths, that satisfied the liberal arts requirements without, like, I wasn't taking an English literature class. And so I really enjoyed it. I had small class sizes throughout. I was having dinner with professors every semester. It was a close-knit community. And it teaches you how to think, really, so
Mhm.
that I could go do whatever job I wanted.
Right.
We did get one question. Are there any other famous people with liberal arts degrees? Good
There's a
question.
ton, actually.
Yes.
So one of the challenges when I was putting together this presentation was trying to vary it up. I will say there were a lot in government, a
Hmm.
lot of Fortune 500 CEOs. That was
Yeah.
interesting to me. So I just chose one, or actually two. But that was pretty interesting across the board. There were scientists, there were a lot of actors as well. So it was interesting to see. I don't have all of them at the tips of my fingers, but if you simply Google famous liberal arts graduates, you will see a ton, and many have
Yes.
done different studies on them as well. So
I
Oprah
did a quick
Winfrey.
Google and I'm
Oh,
trying
you
to
did.
pull up ones that I know that I think students will know too. Let's see.
Oprah Winfrey was one of my other favorites in that list.
Yeah.
She's a
Um,
liberal arts grad.
so who did Chevy Chase and Martha
Hmm.
Stewart, liberal
Oh,
arts
yes, yes, yes.
grads.
Hmm.
Um, Andy Rooney, he went to my alma mater. I was
Oh,
actually there with his grandson at the time.
goodness.
Um, Let me see.
Carson Kressley. He's a great liberal arts example. He was religion and theater at Gettysburg. He did Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. He is all in fashion in New York City.
Okay.
Has quite a few things between Netflix and has done some things on HBO. Um, so,
Oh, Ronald Reagan.
mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
Ron Paul, if any of you remember him when he was running for president. Fred Fielding, not as well known, but he was on several administrations. He worked on the 9/11 Commission. Fred Fielding, I think, was a history major. He's a Gettysburg alum.
Hmm.
But he worked for the Bush administration. He worked for Nixon administration, number of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and I think just thinking about kind of the Radnor student population, and I feel like a lot of our students are interested in like business. Um, And I always encourage students to not rule out a liberal arts education, even if they know they want to go into the business field. Um, I know a lot of people I graduated with ended up going straight to Wall Street,
Mhm.
from Colgate. So it does prepare you for whatever you would like to do. Um,
It's interesting that you say that business and finance are our most popular majors, and economics.
mhm.
They're our most popular majors. So,
Yeah.
and if you look at, again, Fortune 500 CEOs, if you look in the number of liberal arts grads, many, interestingly enough, there are three big areas. I did this research a few years back. English, history, and engineering were three popular majors for Fortune 500 CEOs. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But when you think about it, what do you need to be good at as somebody who's, first of all, moving up the ladder? You really have to be good with people. You have to think on your feet. You have to be adaptable. You have to solve problems, all the
Mhm.
skills of the liberal arts. So it makes good sense.
Yeah.
So,
All right. I just put into the Q&A a link to the Radnor High School website that will take you to kind of the schedule for tonight in case any of you guys want to join us for our final session for the evening. You can find all the teams' links there. Um, I just want to, Mary, thank you so much.
sure, my
This was
pleasure.
awesome. Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.